So, nevertheless, so what if we have the same ID under two different users? Why would that update at both places in Firebase? These are two totally different endpoints. And I said sync with the current user's endpoints. You know what I didn't say? Stop syncing with the other one. So we're now syncing with two different Firebase endpoints because we never said stop. So when we sign out, we have some cleanup to do. Right now we're just setting the UID back to null. We should probably do some other stuff. So we have handle auth. I'm going to make a handle unauth to do all the stuff that needs to happen after we finish signing out. So sign out still just calls auth.signout. It signs us out from Firebase, from Google. Which triggers unauth state change. We hit the else, and we call this dot set state UID null. So I'm going to cut that, replace that with just this dot handle unauth. And in handle unauth, my new method, I'm going to call set state UID null. And I also want to make sure that I stop syncing. So how do I do that? I still have my rebase. No, not rebase. Firebase here. Stop syncing. No, rebase, right? Rebase is the thing that has sync state. Sync state, bind to state, blah, blah, blah. Here's remove binding. Listeners are automatically cleaned up when the component unmounts. But we don't unmount app. App sticks around, even if we're signed out. So we need to explicitly remove the binding that we set up when we ran sync state. So looking at their example, it looks like remove binding takes an argument. That argument is the return value of sync state. So when we call sync state, we need to do something with the return value and then pass that return value to remove binding later. Okay. So here's sync notes. So we'll just say the result of sync state to, sure, this dot ref, why not? Or if we want to be more explicit, binding ref or something. And in our handle unauth, in addition to setting this UID back to null, we want to call base.remove binding. Base, which we imported. That's that rebase object. Base.remove binding. What binding? The one that we saved to this dot binding ref. And that will stop syncing with Firebase. Yeah.
Is there ever
If you do it this way, that shouldn't happen. As long as you, yeah, I mean this is the only place we run sync state, right? So this dot binding should always be the result of the last time, and this should, I mean, if this were to get called before calling sign out, that would be a problem. But the way that on auth state changed works, that really shouldn't happen. But if you were concerned about that, you could always put an if in front of this. Basically, you could say if this dot binding ref, base dot whatever that was, remove binding. And then set it again. You could totally do that.
And it won't run an error on the on-off, even because by default it'll hit the on-off or it'll be a user on off state change, right? So there won't be an error on removing something that's already null.
So when it's not going to receive a user here, but UID is still going to be in state until we take it out. So in handle unauth,
you're going to do set state and you're going to do base on remove binding.
Remove binding. No, this dot binding ref is still what it is until this is when we set it back to null, basically.
Yeah, but this is going to be run before handle off, right? When someone freshly gets to your page.
That doesn't count as a state change.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not going to, I took it out of component did mount. So that isn't going to run until the state changes either from logged out to logged in or logged in to logged out. If we started out logged out and we stay logged out, it's never going to run this.
Okay. I was under the impression that off state changes in listeners and stuff occurred twice, or like they occurred once, like when initialized, and then once per change.
Let's see about that. So let's sign out. Let's refresh the page. Oh, sure enough. Yeah, it does run right at the beginning. So that's right. I remember that now. I will simply say if this dot binding ref. I did have that in my previous version. Yep. Base dot remove binding. Good catch. So what we've changed is that we stop syncing with Firebase when we sign out. So if I sign in as this one. Fretless Davies note and no one else's. Sign out, sign in. Gmail, Davies, note. Gmail, Davies, note, Fretless Davies, note. Change one, we're not changing them both anymore. Now we did forget to clear out the form, right? So when we unauth, we need to set UID to null. We need to set current note to what, blank, right? We have a blank note method in here. This dot blank note, I think. And actually, If I sign out now, let's look at our React DevTools. State.current note. Now I set it back to null. But state.notes still has that person's notes. Now, if I sign in, as the other person, my notes are now just the other user's notes because I started syncing state again. But while I'm signed out, those are still there. So we probably also need to make sure that when we sign out, my list of notes goes back to an empty object. Well, should this work? Let's try. So when we sign out, we just set the UID to null, the current note to a blank note, and the list of notes to the empty set. Then remove binding if the binding's there. Okay, I'm signed in as fretless me. Sign out. Look at my React DevTools. Notes. Still there. Sign in. This person's notes are there. Sign out. This person's notes are still there. Not fair. What gives? Also, current note, blank note. I think we have a method for that, right?
I think it's reset current note.
Yeah. But we can do it this way. It's a little more efficient. Where is that? Handle on off. Set state. UID null. UID is null. Current note is a blank note. Notes I tried to set to an empty object. And it did not want to do it. What if I set it to, say, have some made-up note in it? Sign in. Get my notes. There they are. Sign out. Now Notes has my made-up note and those other two. So if that key isn't there, if you pass in an object that doesn't have all those keys, but Firebase hasn't stopped syncing. Firebase is going to put them back. So maybe we need to remove our binding first. Let's remove binding. It doesn't give any indication that that is asynchronous. So if I just change the order of these two things, then set notes back to blank. I kind of like that in the opposite order. Sign in. Get some notes. Yeah, let's delete you. I can't. What if I give you a... Oh, man. Shucks. Well, anyway, sign out. Now look at React. DevTools notes is empty. It worked. Now I just got a note that I don't want. Yeah, I've got my phony note here. Can I still delete notes? Yeah, cool. So what was our last commit? Scope notes by new UID. So we stopped syncing with Firebase, and we cleared out state. Stop syncing and reset state upon sign out.